Hi, everybody. All right, so in the last couple of days, I have been dealing with quite a bit of physical pain. Um, it's dental related, and last couple nights, it's just been like when trying to go to sleep, it's quite painful. I'm going to be getting a root canal tomorrow. It's funny to say this, but I can't wait to get a root canal um, because otherwise it's just quite a bit of pain. Right now, the pain is not strong. I do feel some of it, but yesterday I dealt with quite a lot of it, and the day before as well. And I noticed basically I was reacting it. These couple of days I was reacting it in, let's say, two different ways. One way is the normal human or maybe conditioned way of dealing with pain, which is ow, 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 and like expressing how painful it is, and by expressing it, it will naturally our bodies have evolved obviously to avoid pain because pain evolution has taught us that pain usually signals a deeper illness or trauma that needs to be healed. Otherwise, your longevity is at stake. Your life sometimes is at stake, or some limb is at stake. Organ, something's wrong, and you need to fix it. Otherwise, you will have long-term consequences and maybe death. So, because of millions of years of evolution of our bodies, it's very normal and natural to catastrophize pain. Oh my God, this thing hurts. So then it's easy to imagine the infection going into and of course, the dental industry and every medical industry has some of them make money. Obviously, make money by of course helping people, like the root canal that they're having, but I've had plenty of dentists in my life, scare me about, well, you better take care of it because the infection could go into your bone and therefore could go into your body and it could kill you. And obviously, it doesn't happen most of the time, but it's true. What they're saying is true, and I'm sure there's a profit motive attached to it that it's hard to avoid. So, based on both evolution and commerce, it's easy to catastrophize pain and to imagine the long-term suffering that I might have, or the death, or the whatever. And it's all connected so subconsciously that when pain comes up, it is easy to make a big deal out of it, of course. And the painkiller industry, of course, wants you to numb the pain as soon as possible. You should never feel any discomfort in your life. It should be taken care of as soon as possible. And I have, over the past years, have become less and less interested in taking drugs to fix this or to soothe that. I mean, I do when I have to, but when it comes to pain management particularly, I try to avoid pain meds if possible. Now, when I get the root canal, I'm sure I'm going to get the anesthetic because otherwise my natural body reactions is going to make it hard for the dentist to do her work. But last couple of days, I did not take any pain meds. Actually, that's not true. I think 2 nights ago, it was gotten so bad. I was trying to sleep. It was like 2 a.m. So I finally broke down and took the sample pain med that my dentist gave me, and it didn't really help. Maybe it did. Maybe I'm not sure, but it didn't help right away. But I don't know. Last night I did the same thing. I was in pain, laying down for an hour and a half, trying to go to bed, trying to bear it. Finally got up, and getting up was helpful. Anyway, so I managed my pain in tried natural ways, and then after that, those 2 hour ordeal, I was able to fall asleep and just fine. So maybe I didn't need the pain med the night before too, right? So let's talk about the spiritual message here, the spiritual opportunity. Because as I was telling you, I was like these two ways of dealing with pain. One way was to ow, 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 and like, make it a big deal and imagine the worst and therefore take the pain meds and and you know, I feel like that first way, the natural way, causes more suffering. Like it causes more emotional, mental angst, you might say. Whereas I've been practicing last couple days when I am conscious enough to do so, a second way of dealing with pain, which is to understand, first of all, to believe, to come back to my faith, first of all, and say, well, the body, of course, is temporary, and I don't know when it will expire. I don't know when I'm meant to go to the next life, and it's going to be okay if I do. Like this kind of trust that no matter what happens to the body, it's ultimately going to be okay, and that even this experience of pain and of going through this problem, so called, was something I signed up for, was something that was designed. Now, of course, I signed up for this, and I also signed up for the free will to choose this way or that way and take pain meds or not, of course. But I said, okay, I signed up for this particular opportunity to choose. And because I trust that no matter what happens to my body, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be, probably even better on the other side. But of course, I'm trying to prolong this life as long as possible for the precious opportunity of this life. But I said, okay, I started there with my faith to say it's going to be fine. And secondly, I connected with my brain and say, okay, naturally this pain sensation is leading to a natural catastrophizing of the situation. Oh, what happens if I get them? And it also, therefore, makes the pain, so there's a natural connection between pain and suffering, but based on our evolution, right? Like you should suffer so that you want to stop the suffering, and therefore ease the pain, solve the problem. But I said, okay, what if I made the disconnect between the sensation and the suffering? What if I, given my faith, simply saw this, because I know the solution's coming. I'm getting a root canal tomorrow. I couldn't do it last night or the day before because of the scheduling issues, right? So I know the solution's coming. I just have to be patient. I just have to deal with the pain until then. And so I said, what if I just saw this sensation, this painful sensation, as a sensation, and not have to connect it to the suffering part of it? And that was very powerful. And therefore I just said, well, this is just another sensation of life. There's many sensations in life, and this is one of them. And in fact, what was interesting was it feels more alive to be in pain than many other moments of life that are anesthetized based on the distractions of our life. Delicious food, nice sensations, social media, just going through the motions of day-to-day routines. Life can become very unlived, unfelt. It can just be like weeks, months, years go by. And I'm like, did I live consciously? Whereas with the pain, it brought me back to the primacy of life. Like I was very awake as a result of the pain, literally and metaphorically, very awake to, there's a very strong sensation here, and how will I relate to it? And how will I relate to life with the sensation? And also pain kind of brings everything down to the basic level of, what's the purpose of my life? I started thinking about that. Like, of course, with the pain, I can either numb myself, anesthetize myself with things like pain medications or video games, or just watching TV and doing nothing else. Like, it was very easy for me to just say, well, I justify, oh, because I'm in pain, I get to go with a lot of indulgences that I typically would be very much more disciplined about. And of course, I get it. Last night was an example where after an hour of laying in bed with strong pain, trying to do the meditation of disconnecting it from suffering and just feeling into the reality of it, and and the aliveness of this life, the aliveness of this experience. And also part of the practice was to continually bring divine love, if possible, into the moment. Of course, asking God for help. That part of pain, part of the opportunity of pain, the spiritual opportunity, is that it brings us to our knees. The stronger the pain, the more it literally brings us to our knees in fetal position, and praying for help, asking God to relieve us of this pain, if possible, if it is God's will, if it is meant to be, if it is of the highest path for ourselves and for the all, that we be relieved of this pain, then please do so. Maybe part of the highest path is for us to sincerely ask and to reconnect again to the divine in a surrendering mode, in a mode of trust, in a mode of partnership with the divine, and to therefore ask for it if it is thine will, if it is thy will, thy will be done, and then to imagine if it is thy will be done, and then to imagine the pain being healed, which is part of the higher path of spiritual adeptness, is to mind over matter, right? Like we can use divine power to heal our pain if it is meant to be, if it is for that moment meant for us to practice that and have that be effective. And so last night, as I was doing all that in bed for an hour, like literally it was like I looked at the clock when the pain started, and then an hour 15 minutes later I was still unable to sleep and still strong pain, and still doing the meditation. But after a while, of course, my stamina ran out. And stamina is a thing for any kind of growth, particularly spiritual growth included. So then I got up, I put myself upright and played a video game for half an hour to try to distract my pain, and eventually it did help, and my looking away from it did help for it to go away. But I think just time, even if I had just sat in bed for another half hour, it probably would have gone away. But I lost the stamina, and I had to go back to my crutch. And so I see these things, pain meds, doing whatever we need to do, watching funny videos or whatever to distract ourselves. They are crutches, and crutches are sometimes needed, obviously, to be able to get around. And so, but when we so quickly go to the crutch, when we so quickly try to numb the pain, I realized that I would be losing an opportunity to feel more alive, and to practice more surrendering and trust, and to practice more mind over matter, to practice more embodying of divine love. And the other thing that I realized when I was practicing all this was even the pain itself, the strong sensation itself, is love, because everything is made of love. Everything is made of love. Even this sensation of pain is somehow made of love. Like it could literally, if I had enough spiritual stamina, if my spiritual muscles were strong enough, I could have transformed that feeling I was starting to transform that feeling of pain into a feeling of love. And I am grateful that these past couple days have given me these practices, these experiences of practice. It has been some of the most spiritual days of my year thus far, this pain. And compared to the several past months when there was no pain, I haven't been as connected to divine presence as when I was in pain. So I hope I don't regret this, but I thank God for the pain. I'm grateful for the pain. I deeply trust that whatever experience I'm meant to have, I'm meant to have, and that it is meant for my highest good and the highest good of all. And may I continue to use such experiences in the future, I'm sure, as long as I'm alive, as long as this body is going. I'm growing older. There's going to be yet more experiences of painful sensations. May I use every one of them to grow a little stronger in my spiritual muscles, to grow a little more capable with my spiritual stamina, to keep practicing. Yes, to also do whatever I needed to solve the body pain so I can extend this life, extend my physical well-being. But again, I come back to how it is just assumed in our society that you should never have any pain, and when the pain starts, you numb it right away, and you do the surgery, you do whatever you need to do to get rid of the pain, and it's bad, and you should be afraid of pain. And it's I'm basically rebelling against that general cultural understanding of pain, and to because again the general cultural understanding is that this is the only life you live. This is the only life you live, and so you better the heck extend the lifespan and the health span for as long as possible. And of course I get it. From a spiritual perspective, I believe that this is not the only life I live, and in fact, the life, quote unquote, on the other side is way better than this life, and this life is a game. This life is a adventure. It's a very, very intense adventure that I strapped on some avatar body of my soul. To my soul's inhabiting this avatar body to experience all this as a game, as an adventure, as a learning experience, as a very intense one that other souls are cheering me on and go, my God, are you really gonna go play the Earth game? It's a lot of sensations, a lot of painful ones. Nothing like there's stuff we never experience here on this side, and and therefore I should treasure this opportunity and extend this game as long as I'm meant to, as long as I can. And yet, the pain has brought me more spiritual aliveness than I have in a long time. Whether, and I look back, the all the various videos I've made for this series, when I've had emotional pain, it's brought me to my knees and to a greater connection with the divine than I had before. And it's like every experience of pain has a tremendous gift and a very important experience for this life, if I would simply be open to receiving that tremendous gift and growth opportunity, that during the regular pleasant sensations of routine life, that I don't have as much of the spiritual aliveness or the peak experience, right? So this is one of those peak experiences, peak sensation of pain, but also peak spiritual experience if I am open to it. It's like a doorway, it's a portal to a higher level. And so, anyway, with that, I think that's all I'm going to say. I hope this is some inspiration, maybe even some comfort, I hope, if you are dealing with pain, or the next time you do, and the next time you do, maybe you'll remember this and lean into the spiritual opportunity there, and still fix your pain, of course, do whatever you need to physically get well again. And yet while you're waiting to get well, and while the pain is inevitable, lean into the spiritual aliveness there. Thanks for watching, and I hope this is helpful somehow.